Dear friends, welcome to yet another installment of Strategic Power. Currently, he is perhaps the most unpopular politician in the world, but even before the conflict in Ukraine, Vladimir Putin already had many enemies conspiring against his life since he took office in 1999. There were 43 direct attempts to assassinate him. In this video, we are going to explain how he managed to survive the most notable attempts. In addition to luck, Putin's security agents play a crucial role in keeping him alive. So, if you want to know more about Hollywood-worthy assassination attempts against the most feared man of our time, keep watching here at Val La Pena Konica. Let's start in 1999. At that time, Putin was about to assume the position of Prime Minister of Russia and was the head of the intelligence service, one of the most important figures in the country. However, Putin had many enemies in that role. One of them was perhaps the greatest threat to the newly founded Russia, the Russian mafia. According to the Russian Interior Ministry, in the 1990s, there were up to 3 million members of organized crime in Russia. In addition to clearly illegal activities such as drug, arms, or human trafficking, the mafia at the time also controlled many companies and had influence in high politics. As Putin, then aged 47, was actively fighting the mafia, he quickly became a target of some mafia bosses. According to reports, in 1999, the mafia planned a car bomb attack, but Putin managed to escape, being warned in time and getting into another car. From that day on, nothing was ever the same, and the future president built an almost indestructible security network that protected him from all the most serious attacks. 3 years later, it happened again, and Putin was saved at the last second from a new attack attempt. At that time, he was in Moscow and was returning to the Kremlin in his entourage after an external event. According to reports from the time, an unknown man had previously observed the route of the entourage and parked a car at an intersection, loaded with 40 kilograms of explosives. If that bomb had exploded at the right moment, it would not only have destroyed Putin's entourage, but would probably also have killed hundreds of innocents. However, this did not happen. The intelligence services uncovered the plan and quickly changed the route of the entourage. Citizens did not notice anything and thought that Putin's cars were simply following a different route on a whim. Meanwhile, the bomb was defused by a specialized team, and no one knew about the attack plans. However, this attempt made Putin dramatically increase his security measures on the streets. Currently, he no longer travels in a Mercedes S600, but in a limousine called the Urus, specially built for him. The Urus is probably the most secure car in the world. In addition to having bulletproof windows and tires, it is said to also offer protection against explosions of several kilograms of explosives. The reason for this is its weight. At 7 tons, the Urus is almost twice as heavy as the best Rolls-Royce and offers the best protection against almost all types of attacks. However, there were also assassination attempts against Putin that occurred outside of a car. One of the most dangerous took place in 2012, shortly before the protests in Ukraine against the pro-Russian government. Putin visited Ukraine for a meeting with his then counterpart, Viktor Yanukovych. However, even before the protests, Putin already had many enemies in Ukraine, who saw him as a great threat to the country and therefore wanted to eliminate him at all costs. Although it is not known exactly what they planned until today, the Ukrainian intelligence service, which was still cooperating with the Russians at that time, reported that they had captured a group of individuals who were planning an attack against Putin. The Ukrainian intelligence service reported directly to the FSO, Federal Protective Service of the Russian Federation, probably the best security agents in the world. The FSO is a special group created by Putin, whose sole purpose is to protect him 24 hours a day. The FSO is composed exclusively of the best former KGB agents and intelligence professionals from Russia. They are specifically trained to ensure the president's safety. Their influence is so great that they can override security measures of the police and military, and thus, they are practically one of the most powerful institutions in the country. Its head, Viktor Zolotov, is so feared that he cannot enter the European Union and the United States. He also comes from the world of boxing and judo, being one of Russia's most feared generals and playing a crucial role in the conflict against Kurdistan. As head of the FSO and its agents, who by the way always wear black to further spread fear, his main job is simply to keep Putin alive. This life was also threatened in 2002 when Putin visited Azerbaijan, a former Soviet republic. Although Azerbaijan was once part of Russia, in 2002 Putin was not welcome in that Muslim-majority country. As Putin had led a bloody conflict in Chechnya, receiving much criticism from the Arab world, he became an unpopular figure among many Arabs. This led a man to travel from Iraq specifically to assassinate Putin, once and for all. However, this plan was thwarted, and the man was sentenced to 10 years in prison. But most surprisingly, who thwarted the assassination attempt? A special organization called the SBP, belonging to the aforementioned FSO, which is exclusively responsible for Putin's security. Putin's personal bodyguards work in the SBP. To get this job, you need almost superhuman qualities. First, you must be among the top 100 elite soldiers in Russia. Then, you must be between 19 and 45 years old and at least 1.85 meters tall. In addition, they must be in excellent physical shape and able to perform extremely difficult strength and endurance training. In addition to physical qualities, mental skills are also crucial. Those who want to protect Putin as an SBP bodyguard must, according to some reports, speak 5 languages and have extensive political knowledge to always ensure the president's safety abroad. They also learn refined psychological techniques and are able to read faces from a distance, so they always know who plans to attack Putin and who does not. Moreover, they do not always look like classic bodyguards. They often disguise themselves as businessmen so as not to be recognized by potential assailants. And even their weapons are incredibly discreet. They use briefcases that, in case of danger, turn into bulletproof shields, or use umbrellas that are also bulletproof and have a compartment for ammunition, if needed. Curiously, common police officers apparently cannot apply for the SBP, as they are normally trained to defuse dangerous situations, not considered ruthless enough to immediately eliminate Putin's assailants if in doubt. However, the threat of an attack does not even always have to come from an obvious aggressor. Even in 2002, there was a subtle attempt to assassinate Putin that also failed. At that time, the Russian president was visiting the city of Yalta in Crimea. Although it is not known who was trying to kill him on that occasion, his bodyguards discovered that there was a jar of poisoned jam in the breakfast buffet. As Putin is supposedly fond of jam, the assailants apparently thought it would be an effective way to attack him. However, what they did not know was that Putin not only travels with food tasters, but also has his team check every unknown food for poisoning. Currently, Putin is so careful that he no longer travels without his own chef, who also checks that nothing undesirable is placed in his food, even in foreign kitchens. Putin goes so far as to drink almost exclusively from his own thermos, as he always considers the possibility that a glass is contaminated with poison. As for the last assassination attempt, it's something completely different. Although probably the best professionals at protecting against external enemies, there were also cases where people from within his own ranks conspired against him. As, for example, during an official visit to England in 2003, the British MI6 intelligence service reported that 2 former Russian secret agents were planning an attack against Putin. Due to the collaboration between intelligence services, the assailants were quickly neutralized. But Putin became even more cautious after that, to identify internal traitors more quickly and protect himself from them. He created a private army responsible for his security within Russia. Part of that army is made up exclusively of women who not only protect but also seek out traitors within the intelligence service. This private female army is so important that Putin gives them direct instructions instead of delegating them to others.